Good morning, guests. Mr. Louis Rubongoya, you're most welcome to Gang, Mr. Rubongoya.
Thank you very much, Oscar. Good morning to the listeners.
Yes, and I should say you are seated comfortably in Ofono Pondo's seat, because that's usually where he sits.
And that's how we shall take over government, because when Ofono Pondo is not here, why not take over this seat?
Okay. Yeah. Good point. I also have Honorable, I'm not so sure, Honorable Lydia Wanyoto Mutende is also in the studio. Most welcome to Gang, Lydia. Moses of a morning show, Kalule, is still in the studio. I don't know if he has any positives as well for 2024. So
Lydia is still removing her chapat from the pocket.
and this is an effect from 2024.
Good morning. Tunyafuza said these days
wherever
you go to high command meetings with the chapatis.
Okay, but that was good 2024. Good morning, Lydia.
Good morning, Oscar and Ssemujju Mulekwa. And
Ibrahim is my
Ibrahim. And to our listeners, I just want to wish everybody a very happy festive season. We are done with Christmas, but we have a new year loading. Thank you for getting us here to see where we have come from 2024. But I bring you greetings from Mbale City.
Were you there?
Yes, I've just come from Mbale City.
Oh.
Because I promised I'll be on Gang today. So
you left Mbale this morning?
Yes, still 3 hours, 3.5. The road is good, and there are no people on the road. There are no traffic. So, thank you.
Yes. So, Louis, what stands out for you 2024? Was it the census?
I mean, I wouldn't know.
I like your laughter.
I don't even know what stands out in this year. It's been a year of struggling, the usual struggles of the people of Uganda. Corruption has taken further root in the country, repression, so nothing much has changed on the political terrain, but we thank God that many of us are still alive and able to face 2025 and hope that it will probably be a better year. Yeah.
Well, what stands out, 19 people, we think supporters of NUP mostly were freed by the court-martial. That stands out.
Of course, not, because while 19 came out under duress and being forced to plead guilty to crimes they did not commit, we still have many who are still in detention, but also others are getting arrested. So if you free 19 after forcing them to plead guilty, and then you're not trying these others, like these young people who are still at Chitalia. I was there the other week, and they reiterated their request. They said, we want to be tried. If we committed any offense, let it be, known to us. But also, this year has seen so many abductions of our supporters who are usually abducted 3 months later, either released without even any document, or taken to the court-martial and released from there. So these violations have continued to happen. But what is even more sad, and I think the Muslims listening to us know these dynamics. Every time our supporter is taken and released, they will tell you that where they were detained, there were 80, 300 others. And when you ask them, they say about 90% of those people are Muslims. For whatever reason, they are the biggest number in those safe houses.
But Louis, are these facts? Do you have names?
These are facts.
Of people?
Of course, these are facts. I mean, just talk to any person who has been abducted in this country and released. People are taken to CMI in Buya and all these other places. They will tell you that where I was there with so many other people, and of course, they don't even know their identities. These are, someone has been there for 8 months, someone has been there for 5 years, and that kind of thing. So they normally tell us. In fact, one of the young men called Kasaga Bashir, who was abducted and taken there, came up and said that when it comes to time for Muslim prayers, you may think you're at a mosque, because everyone there is almost a Muslim. So whatever persecution is going on targets that community more than any other person.
Now, Honorable Ssemujju, will you bring this to the floor of Parliament? Because who orchestrates such abduction of people?
You see, it becomes news when it is said by someone else. Even in Luzira alone, if you go to Maximum, to I've forgotten where they had detained me. No, I'm talking about the sections in Luzira.
There's Maxon Bay.
Yeah, Maxon Bay and upper. So the Muslims are the majority there. First of all, I know for a fact that Museveni has a dislike for Muslims. That I know. Yes, including his own relatives in Rukunjiri. He doesn't relate with properly because they converted. One of them, a boy I met recently, he told me Tumwine had told him he made 2 crimes. You converted to Islam and then married a Muganda. These are relatives of Museveni. And you can tell him to challenge me anywhere. And because they exist, I'm not talking about ghosts, human beings who are in Rukunjiri.
Yeah, I'll challenge you anytime.
Yeah, because it sounds strange to you, but it's factual. So when you're a Muslim, you are a suspect even before any suspicion has developed. So it is obvious that Muslims are the majority, and they are mainly on capital offenses: terrorism, treason. Of course, when it comes to killing, you know, the other day they killed the sheikh who was on a handcuff, and they said he was running away. But generally, the issues of the year related to that, I think it is obvious that when the government is fighting for its stay, fighting for its life, it will do everything. Museveni uses money effectively, but where money hasn't worked, he also used violence. This year, Oscar, we had our colleagues, 36 of them, kidnapped from Kisumu. For 4 months they were in prison. We are lucky finally the High Court released them. And I am sure that case, government cannot win it. That you go to Kenya and abduct people and bring them back and begin trying them. Because these days, once any prosecution is preceded by violations, it becomes very difficult. That's how the MPs who were arrested, their trial couldn't start because of the way they violently arrested the Honorable Akamba at the High Court. You remember, he had been granted bail, and they came and grabbed him. So when they were eventually produced for trial, they complained that their constitutional right had been violated, and the court said, okay, we'll now make a referral. And I don't think those MPs will ever be tried again. Partly, I was not convinced that they will be tried. My mind was that Museveni was on a show that pretend that you are fighting corruption, you are very hard. And he kept swearing, this parliament. And that's what happened to that case of the MPs. But the point I was making is that once you arrest someone, you violate his or her rights during the arrest, it becomes very difficult to pursue that matter in courts of law. So you don't go to Kisumu, kidnap people who are attending a seminar, and then you charge them with terrorism. The story of those people, Oscar, as I said earlier, was a very interesting story. When they were brought to Kampala, the Director General of External Security, they even prepared for them a buffet. And one of them said, you see, we are fearing. We said, people brought us kicking us from Kenya. How can they be the same people giving us a buffet? So they didn't eat. But he said, no, they brought you here. We are going to reunite you with your families. And we are going to we'll hand you over to police to process. When they are handed over to police, they are driven to Nagarama, where they spend a week, and then brought to Nakawa and charged with terrorism. Now, after 4 months, they were granted bail. We did not know that immediately these ones are out. Now they will be kidnapping Dr. Besigye, who has spent this
from Kenya as well.
From Kenya as well. And maybe the kidnapping of Dr. Besigye, what it has done is to raise the profile of that violation, because these ones were smaller people, councillors, FDC chairman here and there. Even in Kenya, they didn't cause as much a debate like Besigye has caused. So that's how politically in my group we have ended up there with the kidnaps, with detentions. Of course, I have also been there visiting. I now have 2 cases that are ongoing at Buganda Road. One of them, I was charged under the penal code for being a public nuisance. In another one, I was charged under the Road Safety and Traffic Act for causing a nuisance. I don't know the difference. The lawyers can help. So I keep going there twice a month to report.
Yeah. I
am not sure they will try me, because the interest never is try. So the politics is still done the same way it's been done in 2024. It's the same way it is done over decades now. That my brother here, Ruvongo, when they went to open their office branches and do recruitment, they said you have caused an accident on Masaka Road, so you will not go anywhere else. But we've ended the year with Museveni campaigning, giving prostitutes money in Mbale and looking for other groups. I don't know what else Lydia has identified. In Mbale he did. And later I saw the lawyer saying that actually prostitution under the penal code is a crime. So Museveni went to launch a circle of criminals, and he gave it money, head of state in Lydia Wanyoto's backyard. The head of state launching a circle of criminals and giving it public resources. You can continue with prostitution. So that's what he did in Mbale. But the bigger point, Oscar, is that Museveni is campaigning. He's on a campaign trail. He did that towards the last election, and then the Almighty brought COVID as soon as Museveni finished his campaign, and then he said there will be no campaigning. I suspect that after this round, next year will be a year of campaign. He will say, because of monkeypox, which also happened this year, we will not hold bigger meetings because he will have finished his.
This is Honorable Ssemujju with all his conspiracy theories. But we have Namfi in the studio. You're most welcome to Gang. Good morning, Namfi.
Good morning to our listeners. Good morning, Oscar.
Yes.
Hope you had a good Christmas.
We did, yes, thank you. But Honorable Ssemujju, what else caught your eye 2024? Was it the census?
There was a census, but Parliament, we're also in the news for the biggest part of the year over corruption.
Yes, the parliamentary exhibition.
Yes. And I hope things will change, and certainly many of the things will change. And yeah, there are things I don't think, you see, when the individuals are arrested and others are threatened, you cannot continue behaving. You may pretend publicly, but internally, a lot of things will have to happen. The census would have been a very good thing. Unfortunately, the outcome was undermined by the naturalists. When we had the boss of the census here, he said these things are normal, but they became abnormal, especially because you can't release a report and upload it, and then you remove it, and then apologize, and then one ethnic group after another complaining our numbers are not adding up. And then you say, no, a mistake was made. So what ordinarily should have been a good job eventually ended up being undermined by those inaccurate reporting. But what I can state for a fact, Oscar, in an area like mine, where the area I represent, the National Bureau of Statistics was unable to count every person there. I remember when I complained here, the enumerators they had deployed were fewer. So they brought in others in buses. But even that, they were unable to count everybody. Maybe they don't need to count everybody. So the figures become a little bit problematic because these figures are the basis of sending money to local government. They are also the basis for demarcation of administrative units and electoral areas. Once the numbers don't add up, it means you'll have either the same size or the same amount of money coming to your local government compared to an area that is smaller than you. So that's why these figures ought to be accurate. And I don't think there can be a remedy because the census is done until another 10 years. Yeah.
Well, excuse me, he did say that there's a margin of error, but I don't know. Lydia, census stands out for you?
Census was an important activity for the country, and fortunately there was money for them to carry out the exercise. It looked nice because they were telling us it was digital. Then when the inaccuracies came in, including my own community, I think they mixed us Bugisu with they swapped our figures with those of Zita Choli, then I don't know where, Lango. It didn't look smart, but once that, confidence is a very important thing. The moment the confidence or the trust is shaken, then you can see all the speculation. So they have to work very hard to rebuild the confidence because we need statistics or figures that are current and accurate to even plan for the country, to also know where we stand. And we are going for elections. That information will also be very important. You know about the figures. When we told you that we have 18 million registered voters of the NRM, everybody was like, how did you get there? But if you know that the Uganda's population is about 43 million, maybe you'd remove the children and the under 16 and be able to say, maybe yes or not, plus or minus. But now we have that challenge of confidence, but we hope that they have a job to do to rebuild the confidence so that we can use the figures
for elections. What's the highest vote the NRM has ever got? Wasn't it like, or President said 6 million?
No, 6 million, 6.5.
6.5.
That's the highest. Yes. 6.5, yes.
So when you
but
say,
in the past, like Ssemujju has said 5.7, like that.
Yeah. So I'm putting that, comparing it with the 18 million that the NRM first presented.
No, this is
some point.
This you'll check for the 2026.
Oscar,
yes.
What did Mbabazi say was the figure for NRM? Did he say 13 and then they got 5 million? You see, the politics of NRM is interesting.
No, but Ssemujju does not mean that you've also been conversing with me here. We've been questioning why the voter turnout in Uganda is low. It's not a given that because you're a member of the FDC or NRM, you'll go and vote. You know that the most elites don't even vote. But when they tell them to register, they go and register. That's a given. You just see the variance between the voter turnout over the years vis-a-vis the eligibility of those who are supposed to vote, including these. I want to know that Nafi votes because I've never seen her ink from Nyenga.
She does.
So that's another. That's good news.
But how many people did?
But let me. No, Louis, you listen. You know, to the listeners, Louis is stayed in the OOC.
Yes. And I said that's how we take over government.
So he's not allowing me to talk when I actually listen to him. That's why you want to take over, right?
To challenge you on that fact.
So for you, when you take over, not even breathe, because even here you cannot allow me to talk.
No. I'm just challenging what you're saying. That how many people did you both say above 18 years of age for people to say that you have 18 million votes? No,
we registered people. We've said this over and again, and unless you want to hear. By the time we get to 2026, all those that we've registered will be 18 years and of voting age. So you boss was registering the actual. For us, we registered the projections, including the actual. And we have now put our register into digital. And that's one of the achievements of my party for 2024. We are moving towards, listen, Ssemujju, we are moving towards an accurate and a tight register for the NRM party members before we align ourselves to participate in the general elections of 2026. But the activities are in 2025. So, Oscar, you're asking us the issues for 2024. At the party level, that's what we have on table now. On the other aspects, yes, I think you began by asking us about UBOS. I think UBOS can build the confidence that we are good to go. We have figures that are accurate to work on. But I want to add, something that we take so much for granted. Uganda is a land-connected country. We are huge porous borders with neighbors who are relatively unstable, but we've run the year relatively stable. And I think the peace and security of this country gives us an opportunity to even predict tomorrow, and that shall be here for gang and become for gang. We can use the peace and stability to be able to move other aspects of the agenda. But for that, I think we should put in the bag of the positives that largely Uganda has been peaceful for the most of the year, and that we want to thank God for that, and for the government of the NRM for securing Uganda in terms of peace, security and stability. If you compare with what's happening with our neighbors. Yes?
You know, Louis here and Ibra have been talking about all these people that have been abducted and in prison. So you know, when you put the two together.
Fortunately, they will have their day in court. Before I could even talk, Honorable Ssemujju was talking about a court process. So I think they all know that they can go to court. They have their day in court. They either get charged or acquitted or even get bail. I normally don't want to speak to matters of court because there's a process. Unless you are telling us that there's no process, but when I got here, Ibra was talking about court process, people are getting bail, they are getting arrested. The courts are there and the prisoners are there because there's anticipation that somebody will be caught. Others wouldn't be having these institutions in place and structures. Would be complaining if nobody was brought to court. Would say no, their rights are being violated, and for that I stand with them. But if someone had gone to court and gotten bail, you have your day in court. You get acquitted or you get charged.
Yes, before Nanfi comes on.
When I was still in the media, I think after 2-0 elections, there are polling stations where Museveni got 0, especially in the north. Then in the meeting, he was asking them, because at every village, the NRM branch, women, youth, elderly, people with disability,
we have 30 leaders per village. So now, let me give you an example. One of those villages, I went for the burial of Honorable Sisiri Ogwal. Now, where we had a burial, that village where I was, they told me that's one of those villages where even the agent did not vote for us. But these things happen.
So he asked whether actually these NRM leaders existed. How can I get 0 in a village where we have at least 30 NRM leaders?
You tamper with them. So the numbers declaration NRM, forms.
You take them the same way people are taking the results of the census. They are very fictitious.
Are you saying that we don't have those numbers in Uganda?
Of course you don't.
How do you vote? Or how do you win elections?
I am not the one saying, but Museveni was asking where did they go for you to get
Mary Ann Nam.
It happens.
Yes, Oscar.
Chitezi stands out. The Chitezi disaster is one of those that stood out for 2024.
Yes.
I actually had a chance to meet with Dr. Okello. No, the former ED, we hosted her several times, but I met with Dr. Okello.
Yes.
That doctor who was writing letters and saying this is going to happen.
There's a
disaster. He was also arrested, but he told me, Ssemujju, he told me as a full file he had written to everyone, the LC1, the police, DPC.
Oscar, we talked about Chitezi here one time, and Moses just brushed it. You remember when we were talking about rubbish in Chireka, and then we talked about what's going on in Chitezi? The whole place was a mess at that time, and this was 2-3 years ago. So everyone who lives and doesn't live in Chitezi knew that was a disaster waiting to happen. And unfortunately, they scapegoated these people who ended up in jail. And I don't even think they will, in the end, there will be justice for the victims of that Chitezi disaster. But for me, Chitezi is just a symptom of the times. The whole country is one giant Chitezi. And yet, yes, we are disaster waiting to happen. So for me, it's just symbolized where we are, how our leaders respond to emergencies, how our leaders ignore things. For example, CDF is unraveling, and we are ignoring that till one point it will become another Chitezi. And then who will be answerable to that if something goes south? We've had the international community complaining about this person and their mental state, and yet no one is responding to what is doing. So it's just a symbol of how things have been done for the last 20, 30 years, that nobody cares unless there's money involved and people are dividing money among themselves until the worst happens. And even then, our response to the worst happening is dismal. So for me, Chitezi is just Uganda on a smaller scale. Like the whole country. We are one giant Chitezi. I don't know how we are going to crawl out of that, but it was such an unfortunate incident, and what followed is even more fortunate, because up to now, people who are dumping rubbish don't know where to take it, because government hasn't.
There's actually still rubbish being deposited
in Chitezi.
Really?
Yes. They tried other areas. My dustbin guy, I asked him, so where are you guys taking this rubbish now? And the other day there was an incident where one of the people where rubbish was being deposited on their side, and they stood their ground, they refused, and the rubbish truck ran over him.
Oh.
And he lost his life. It was in the news.
Oh.
Because government, even at this at this time, after all that has happened, we are still not responding to the situation the way we need to respond, because the people depositing rubbish haven't been given alternative places to take this rubbish, and then soon enough we will forget, as we do, and we'll have another disaster on our hands, because shortly afterwards, when they couldn't, they promised them sites in Entebbe, which they never delivered, and they don't even know who in government should be handling this, or in KCCA, because we've just gotten a new ED. That's another story. But now, in the end, they have had to take the rubbish back to Chitezi, because no one is even manning the site to make sure that they are not taken back. So it's another disaster waiting to happen. Such a typical happening in Uganda. Like this is how this country is run.
Louis, I invited. There's a young man we had here after the disaster. Ivan Bamwean, a geologist, and he said it's a pity I'm away, because there are so many things to talk about. Disasters in Bulambuli, floods in the city, River Nyamwamba.
I even saw Bugisu still had.
Nanfi has a point. Karuma has now turned out to be a good, but let's first finish with Chitezi and all these floods and all.
First, I just want to agree with her that Chitezi is just a tip of the iceberg. It's just symbolic of, so much that has gone wrong and that can predictably go wrong in this country. We are certainly seated on a time bomb. I mean, when you see what is happening, you hear that Bank of Uganda has been raided and we've lost 60 billion. The following day, you hear what is happening in Parliament. Then you look at the natural disasters, where you have a fully-fledged ministry that should be able to predict these things and do proper planning for them. And even when these disasters happen, you look at the response. I just saw in the news that even the money that was promised to the victims of Bulambuli has not been given to them. They were, complaining that what was promised them for Christmas did not come. I will reflect on the words which Honorable Ssemujju likes to use, that Uganda ceased to be the project for General Museveni and his system, and his stay in power became the project. And so that is what has gone wrong in this country. If you ask somebody what is going well in this country, it is only his firm grip on power, or his attempt to ensure that he stays in power at all costs. Well, it is also on a shaky ground, looking at what his son tweets and all that. But that is where the entire investment of the entire attention is. For us, for example, as NUP, and one of the good things that happened to us is we attempted to move out there to do our nationwide tour. People were so receptive. Everywhere we went, you saw how many people were there. But every time we do successful events, the police will write to you and invite you and say, we are blocking these events because you did not obey traffic rules. Even this last time when they said we cannot allow you to use major highways, we said, okay, we can use whichever route you want us to take. And they started giving us rural routes to use to go to our venues. But when we did very successful events in Kamuli and they saw what happened in Buikwe, the following day, a letter was on my desk saying we are stopping you. But see what Genome 7 has been doing in the East. People block roads. Balam was there on roads moving around with processions. So for NUP it is illegal to do what they call processions, but Balam and other NRMs can do whatever they want. Block roads for hours, do whatever. So that's a problem, that in terms of policing, in terms of everything, their antennas are always high when it comes to anything that they think will threaten the survival of the regime. But when it comes to protecting the citizens and ensuring that, citizens are safe, they don't care. So I don't view Chitezi as just as an event. I mean, just go through Kampala and see the potholes. Sometimes they said they're bringing SFC to fix them. I don't know where that ended, but the potholes are still there. See the congestion. So everything is not right. And if we continue in this state of affairs, it's not hard to predict that we're headed for tougher times. Yeah.
And I noticed you are on social media. People, was it AI or doctoring images of you?
Yeah, of course. That's. I think the regime and those who serve it have, deployed so many things, and again, that's a problem that we have, because the investment that goes in politics, they are always cooking. We are aware, for example, that the regime runs a very, very big operation, pays social media activists to be there, and from morning to evening, they are abusing NUP, they are abusing President Chagulanyi. You go to TikTok, you see someone has 10 accounts. All that is public, these are public funds that are being used to run these things. So, you saw the other day Genocide saying, I'm tired of you artists. Because once our president came into politics, then the regime said, what do we do to neutralize him? They started spending billions of the money you pay in taxes to artists to try and neutralize him. And so that's a crisis we have as a country. So when you see them doctor an ID and say Luongwea is a captain, I mean, I know the source is those people who are paid every day to be there cooking things against those opposed to the regime and that kind of thing. But what is more painful is to know that it is your taxes, the money which should be fixing schools, which should be making sure we have roads, which should be giving us proper health care. That is the money being given to artists. That is the money being given to these social media people and all that. So Uganda is no longer the project for Genome 7 and his system. His stay in power is the project.
Right. Tony Kent Chaze on X, formerly Twitter, says, please ask whoever is eating in the studio to eat quietly. I should tell you, Tony Kent, that was Hon Ssemujju banging flasks and everything. So it is festive season. We are grateful for Star Cafe for powering the gang. So please go ahead. Lydia, Chitezi, sad event.
Yeah, for 2024, Chitezi was very unfortunate, and we took the opportunity of the gang under your leadership to make our case, to stand with their families, and to make proposals on what intervention that should have been done. We really thought that the landfill, because it had already been condemned, if you remember, that was not what the human life there. They should have been relocated by now, but I hear they haven't, or not even been compensated, or the compensation is not yet fully done. I heard someone saying that even the acting ED, when they received, was it 16 billion, they began with buying another piece of land, and there was a fracas there between the priorities. Do you buy another piece of land for a landfill, or do you compensate and resettle people? There was that debate at the city council. And I remember I made the case here when the Lord Mayor closed the chambers away from the councillors, wanted a meeting. You remember Oscar, they were like, you cannot have a disaster and leaders do not meet, even just pass a resolution. Because I hear there was, he was saying, let's first get the report. And my opinion was that let you people, whether there's a report or not, let the councillors meet and visit the scene and see what they can do as leaders of the people. So there's been that. Now that we have a new leadership, like we've had in the last 2 days, we hope that now, but there has not been leadership gap because there was an acting, there are people in acting capacity, but we hope that there will be cohesion in the leadership and that people will be resettled and where need to be compensated, and waste management should be given, garbage and waste management should be given priority, because all urban areas, it solves a very big problem because it's really borders health, sanitation, cleanness of the environment. And in any urban setting, you cannot live in a community where you do not manage garbage waste, both the garbage from our homes but also human waste. Because you see, we have hospitals, we have all these things. You have pets like dogs. Where are they, disposed of? It's very, very important to have that plan worked on, but also enforcement and vigilance. Yeah, I thought that I should say that, and I do not think that there are so many stakeholders into this. I had someone saying, who is responsible? Kampala City, they better manage a big stakeholder arrangement. The private sector plays a role. The living community, the settlers. I don't know that you live in Wakiso, Oscar, but they are the residents of the city here. The settlements have a role to play. Then the working community have a role to play. Then the people, the markets. We have so many markets in the city, and the markets are the biggest centers of garbage. Every morning trucks come into the city with banana leaves, with matoke, with the vegetables, with the cattle, with the goats, everything. All the waste after the slaughtering and whatever ends up here. So where does it go? So that plan is important, efficiency, and then and also enforcement and vigilance. And then for the rest of us, like I hear people here talking, everything is about government, about what. But if you zoom the lens into the leadership of the city, it's really not about, if it's about who is the political leader, whatever, you'll be surprised. Let's not focus so much on the elected leaders. Let's look at the whole management of the big picture, and we deliver a state that we all deserve to call the city of Uganda. All of us would love to have lived or worked in Kampala, because the only city we have in the country, just one like this. So why don't we make the best out of it, even in terms of habits, mindset? You drive a very nice car, but you are throwing bottles out of the window, and then you begin saying, there's poor leadership at the KCC. What about it? It starts with us, even as individuals.
So true. So, Ibra, whenever we have our walks in local areas, you find that every time there's been rainfall, there's a lot of dumping that takes place.
Yeah.
People just throw out.
It begins with us, the individuals, also.
Because they think the running water will help. You see, Oscar, the population census told us that our population as a country is growing by more than 1 million people every year. If we had a government, that government would have been spending quite some time planning where these people will live. The president, after Chitezi, said he was shocked. He didn't know that people were living there. But you have 1 million people being born every year. I represented the Chadondo East in the 9th Parliament, and Chitezi was one of the villages. The people who are living off the garbage are a very big community, Oscar. I don't know if you've ever been in Chitezi. The villages there, Rusanja and Chitezi, neighboring this site. When I was an MP, they put me under pressure. They wanted the thing closed. There was a World Bank report. So I go to Chitezi. When I go to Chitezi, those who are working there are almost more than, they are bigger than the size of the village. They say, please, you can't close our business. People who are picking plastic, people who are sorting out this and this. So it became very difficult for an MP. You've gone to deal with the problem, but people who derive livelihood, there are also many. Even as I speak to you, and I was there last week,
in Chitezi.
I passed by, they are still bringing trucks and dumping them around the same area, because there are people who are waiting for those trucks to sort out materials that are going to be recycled. But that recycling is also affecting many other areas around Kampala. If you came to Chireka, I have complained to my friend Honorable Gwang, the Minister of Sports. I complained to Honorable Bua, who was Minister of State for Sports. When you are standing at Nambole, you will see heaps of garbage dumped, we call it Chireka B. And this is a facility where you are spending billions of money in preparation for Africa Cup of Nations. That you are going to bring a whole continent to your country. And apart from beautifying Nambole and around Nambole, the neighborhood is very bad. I told you, Oscar, here, I have repeated this story 100 times when I was traveling with Moses Biarohanga. And he was persuading an elderly hair hostess from KRM who had said she will spend her Christmas in Kilimanjaro, that please come to Uganda, we have this, Kenya doesn't have. And she said, you see, we usually stay in Entebbe, but sometimes the hotels were full and they took us to Kampala. But your road, animals are crossing, elderly. He said, I cannot come. And I looked at Pua Biarohanga, was very happy, because for them they think settlements in themselves mean development. You had Museveni when he was on this show, and he was celebrating that when he captured power, this whole area from Mulago to Gayaza was a forest. Now there are people there. So if you don't plan for them, the people themselves become a problem. So Chitezi fits within the bigger problem, no physical planning. Because if you had a physical plan, you had a settlement plan where people go and live, and you're sure they stay there, then you will not be having Chitezi as a disaster. First, who licensed people to begin constructing around the site? And
why were they stopped if they're not licensed?
Yes, and then you come up and begin arresting, which is tokenism, arresting the executive director and deputy, and unfortunately the man in charge of health, who had written many letters complaining, yes, that you guys, this thing is about to kill people, and you pay him by arresting him. I am told he's the son of former President Milton Obote.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's Obote's son, and these are Museveni's friends. Maybe they said, why are you? But the point is, he did his work, as far as I am concerned, by alerting everybody that Chitezi is about to kill people, and eventually it did. I don't know why they took him to court, but I think the president had to find some scapegoat, so you arrest some people. Because even in Chisaka, I told you I represented Chitezi in 2011. At that time, I think Jennifer Musi was the executive director. But even before that, World Bank had written a report saying, please, you must close this site. They didn't close it. In every policy statement from Kampala Capital City Authority, they were pleading for money to go, and that's how they went to buy land in Dundu. That land in Dundu meant to close Chitezi and then begin a new site, but there was no money to do the construction there, and so on and so forth. But
now they're also battling settlers.
Yeah, because you see the trouble.
Come onto the land.
The trouble is that I have told you, Oscar, and it was deliberate, that our population is growing by 1 million every year. What is a forest today? Tomorrow is a trading center. So if you delay, identify land and you don't fence it off, even private land, within a very short time, people will encroach on it because they are looking for survival. So the problem, the bigger problem, is that there is no planning, no physical plan. We follow nothing. We are just settling like we are in I don't know, where you find space, you build. And then later they will tell you, why did you build around the Chitezi? They said they will move people. People are still there, Oscar. You need to go and pass by Chitezi these days. They claimed now we are going to remove everybody, they must go. They are still there. They are still bringing, not at the same scale, but garbage is still being brought into that area, and people are doing it as a business, sort out are still there daily.
These are the contradictions of Uganda. We have Norman Magembe here posting my highlight on X, formerly Twitter. My highlight of 2024 was watching Onana at Nambole Stadium. I think his tweeting about Uganda was fantastic, since he has a huge global following. Honorable Ssemujju, you also love sports. You love football. You support a team that may never win a championship, but that's for another day.
No, you need to know that Scolari was the coach of Real Madrid. They became the champion, but he was sacked.
Right.
They said his football was not entertaining. You had chased fans from the stadium. So it's not just about winning. Scolari, when he coached Real Madrid, after winning, they sacked him.
Yeah.
They said there is no entertainment in your football, so people are not just kicking and score.
So your Arsenal is just there to entertain.
That's what football is.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not just about winning, and winning a trophy is one of the things, but it's not the ultimate.
But sports has been good in Uganda. I mean, just having Onana in Uganda, very, very useful. But then the Kenyans were clever. The next match, they bought the entire place, so you couldn't go to support Onana.
Kenya was using our facility because I think theirs are also under construction. Like we were at one time playing from Algeria, looking for facilities because we hadn't developed ours. And they said playing against Nigeria in Uganda, and you have a Manu goalkeeper as part of Nigeria, is bringing more people who are going to make Nigeria look like it is a home team. I think that was their reason. And they said, no, please, we don't want. And that's why I said, Oscar, we were in Rwanda a year ago for the East African Parliamentary Games.
But Onana is not Nigeria.
Onana is
Cameroon.
Cameroon, yes, it's Cameroon. We're in Rwanda, and Kagame tends to do things deliberately. If you look at the Aragibe Arena in Rwanda, and we are told the intention was to construct those kind of facilities that are going to attract those kind of matches, that if Uganda has a match and they don't have a serious facility, certainly they will have to go. I don't know why we don't go to Rwanda, but Kenya came here. Ours here, the way they are constructed, even Nambole, the way it is, I've just been told now that the whole VIP area, you see, Nambole is now nearing completion. But when CAF came here, they advised them that to host the Africa Cup of Nations, that VIP section will need to accommodate more than 2,000 guests. As it is now, I think it's about 200.
It's about
now, after finishing, we are now going to demolish to construct again. And during a debate in Parliament, the FUFA president told them that, you see, these facilities that you are giving to UPDF, first of all, are they a certified company? Are they CAF certified company? Are they FIFA certified? That you may need to use companies that these fellows have certified, so that tomorrow you don't have those kind of issues. But because of our obsession with the military, they handed over the facility to UPDF. As a result, now I am told we've got to demolish the whole VIP section, because the one of Africa Cup of Nations must accommodate at least 2,000 guests. So it's an opportunity. Sports gives you free advertising, but you need to invest in it. You see these countries like Qatar, who are giving a citizenship to Kenyans and Ethiopians. It's not because they want to get money out of it, but they want publicity. If you have a marathon runner who is going to be on all the international channels for 2 hours advertising your country, why wouldn't you invest in it? So the investment that you make, that's why I was comparing Uganda to Rwanda. You look at the Aragibe Arena, it is a tourist attraction. You look at ours, there will be a quarrel over who wins the contract, and eventually they will give it to someone who is incompetent, or the president will intervene and he will give it to UPDF. that Nambole and its surroundings by now should be made to look attractive, such that when people come to, like Onana came and others will, they go with a good story about how Uganda looks like, because they will be exposed only to that facility from the airport to hotel and then to Nambole. But if it is surrounded by a garbage in Chireka, so when I complain, they tell me, but Chireka under Chira municipality, why doesn't the mayor remove it? So the amount of investment that you make in sports will give you almost immediate dividends. And I hope by the time of the Africa Cup of Nations, we'll have cleaned the whole of that Nambole and facilities around it.
I don't know if you follow football, Louis. Uganda qualified for AFCON with 2 matches to go. And it was so unusual for Uganda to qualify with 2 matches. Previously, we would bring out calculators if Kenya does this. And there's a time Kenya seemed so mean. They came here, nothing to lose. And then we were in a draw with them, so we lost out. But for once, it's bravo to them. We haven't needed a calculator for that qualification.
Absolutely, it's a good thing.
and it's sports like football is very unifying. I have a Uganda shirt that is red. I also have a Uganda shirt that is yellow. And
the one of yellow I no longer put
that's
it
what
on.
I wanted to say. That
why?
Of course, sports unites all of us. Many people in Uganda. And it's good to congratulate our team and wish them all the best.
You are selective on those things.
And I don't know, the netball team, is now known world over. I don't know, Nafi, have you followed the netball team?
Stranded in Zanzibar.
I think that was a long time back.
The rugby team was stranded in Rwanda.
The mess that was created after
isn't that a while ago when it was about a year ago?
Yeah.
I think it was the basketball team.
Things have since improved.
They have improved.
The one that Moses Kainerugaba bailed out was in Rwanda.
Yes. But that was 1 year ago.
The mess that followed the success of our netball team has been sorted now at the Ministry of Sports.
There is a new leadership now.
There's a new leadership.
Yes, the elected leaders.
The Minister for Sports, Qatar, removed the former MP.
But Nafi, I don't know if you've been following. They are really good ambassadors for Uganda. That netball team.
Yes, they
on
are.
The sports. On the court itself, and the dance that they usually
do before
and after the matches.
Yeah.
And I
their
think
performance.
And their performance. I watched one of their games. They are really tough women. Those women.
They are, and they're flamboyant, and their celebration is something to behold. They actually add flavor.
You can be tough with words, Nafka, but those girls are very hard. Very hard.
I used to be one.
You're too soft now.
I don't look sporty.
No, you don't look like a netballer.
Seriously, sports is such a good way to advertise your country and to represent your country internationally.
Do you have a yellow t-shirt of Uganda?
I
do?
never wear yellow t-shirts, Oscar. NRM vulgarized that color, and once NRM is over, we will revisit yellow. But for now, no, we are not like you.
I'll get you one from FUFA.
But Oscar, you like being safe. That's why you have yellow shirts
and red
shirts.
And red shirts.
Yeah.
They even have OSM on them. And
on them?
We have them, yeah. So
Louis,
when
you have
we
a
go
yellow
to
shirt?
I don't have any.
You see, Oscar, we don't. Us who are very serious about opposing this man, we don't have yellow shirts, not even for Uganda Cranes.
For us who go to sports events, we have all. I have a white one, yellow one, and a red one.
Be careful in the next year when you're going with it. You may not fare well at the event. But Oscar, yes, I think we should, as a country, look to sports more for positive advertising and invest more in sports because, like Ssemujju said, Qatar and Saudi Arabia and all these Arab countries, they invest in actually foreigners in order to represent their countries, in order to take advantage of the positive image that this can that this gives their country. But when you look at what Qatar invested in their World Cup, because it is the most expensive World Cup on record to date, and how much they got from there, because they were not even looking to draw any profit from it or any. They were looking to advertise their country, and they did successfully sell their country. And as a bonus, they managed to actually make money from the World Cup, from the advertising and several other. And they built so many hotels in their country. I've got a couple of friends who have gone to Qatar this Christmas with their families on holiday to Doha. So it's, and who knew that Doha would be a holiday destination, but
it's a pretty city.
It is a pretty city, and the hotels they built right now are the ones that have hosted most of the people who have gone there this holiday season. So I think sports is a very, very good opportunity for us to develop our country, and this opportunity we've got, let's not mess it up like we do most of the things. Let's not because you could easily get a bad image from hosting, especially as a country who end up having potholes and host people to just dump them in, and then these days with social media, Twitter, information is disseminated so quickly. So before you know it, all our guests are going to be advertising Chitezi and the potholes in industrial area. It is, and we don't want that. So we better be ready if we want to capitalize on selling our image as a country.
Okay. Let's stop for a quick break, and after the break, I'll find out if Lydia has been following the netball team as well. This is the Capital Gang. Welcome back from the break. Lydia, have you followed the fortunes of our wonderful She-Cranes, the netball team?
Yeah, they've done us proud. Actually, they've been our biggest tourism ambassador. There's one tall one. I think she has the height of an American. She's very tall. She stands out.
Okay. And Ssemujju likes to claim good people. I
think all the she just raises her hand a little and the ball is already in because of her height, and that is good. So I congratulate. They recently had a new leadership. They elected leaders because they had whatever. But I wanted to give information to Honorable Ssemujju that I think we are moving in the right direction with sports, because just 2 weeks ago, the president officially launched the sports center. Ssemujju, you've been building that sports center in Sebei, the up altitude for marathon. It looks beautiful. It's actually in its own right.
The president is, the newly elected is Uchanda, so Mrs. Uchanda.
So we don't have to, I mean, Kenya ES is okay, we can always share neighbors, but it's good to have such a facility in Uganda, and it is more than the running track. It also has other facilities, and I think and it's beautiful weather, beautiful. It's so fresh up there in Sebei, so that's a good. We did have one like that before, so it's good. You're talking about Nambole. There's something I wanted to share with the Honorable Ssemujju. You know, you guys, you go for benchmarking, which some of us don't. You should be able to know that one of the biggest advantages of building sustainable nations is to have local capacities of companies and facilities. For sure, if I've been to Addis, you cannot find foreign companies building facilities in Addis, and they've built onto their sports sector. You know that Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, is one of the best sports people in the world. Same with Tanzania. They use the local companies, and mostly they use the army. So the best thing that should have happened, like what you are raising now, is for FUFA or CAF or whatever, those big sports administrative institutions to come and give specifications, and the debate was in the House to say we need this and this and that specific. Then our local companies can either joint bid or take up that and build what is required. But to say that they are breaking because it was not it was supposed to be a licensed company to build, I think that's, we should get away from that. That's colonial, and that is tying countries out of business. We should not accept imposing on us, like when you see infrastructure, whatever, to say it must be an international company because we've got loans and World Bank and all these things. We should be getting away from that. Let's build our local capacities. We can get the international specifications and deliver. It's happening in Kigali. It's happening in Dar es Salaam. It is happening in Ethiopia, at least and South Africa. You cannot find.
Kigali has been built by Qatar.
But there is the local content. Let's build the local content. We should not be. We shouldn't, Oscar. We shouldn't pride international licensed companies. We should pride in growing our local competencies for sustainability, but also for Bubu. Because now you are talking about Qatar and other countries. But there's the story of maintenance. After the games, then what? So there are issues of maintenance, there are issues of technological transfer. So we need to be mindful of that, and let's walk the talk of what we call boo-boo. And technological transfer. I agree that we can have an international company, but we should not run away from building our local competencies. And if you want, I mean, you don't have to. But from the experience of Ethiopia, Tanzania, even now Zambia, I've seen also South Africa, the biggest competencies are within the army, the military infrastructure of those countries. And they've been able to, even the railways are being built. Even in Kenya, it is KDF, which was partnering with Chinese companies to build the railway to Mombasa.
Wow.
Yeah, so
James is in South Africa, says Ethiopian government is using many Chinese contractors.
I'm talking about local content.
I agree with you, and if necessary, then what they could do is get someone to certify. Have you gone to a bank to get a loan? They tell you can only choose from these auditors, you can only choose from these. So it is a problem nearly everywhere.
But we should be able to stand up to it, because it denies us business, but also building the capacity.
So that was sports for you. Nafi, you are here. Our squash ladies team won bronze in the Namibia Senior Championship this November. The first medal for Squash Uganda, and that is from the squash president in Uganda. So I don't know. Moses Biarahanga, this is his pet topic. Says Uganda improved in exports and decreased imports.
We can have the figures. Let's have the figures.
Namfi, this is to you. These are very important statistics in the growth of Uganda. You agree?
But he says.
Yes, come to the microphone, Namfi.
In 2023, Uganda's exports were at $7.3 billion, while imports were at $11.9 billion. The exports, as a percentage, imports were 61.3%. In 2024, by the end of November, our exports were $8.2 billion, while imports were 14.5%. Exports, a percentage.
Why are you reading them without enthusiasm? Basically, you don't need to read the whole thing, but it says...
Because once again, I'll tell Moses, till Ugandans feel these numbers...
That exports have risen.
They feel...
And that inflation has gone down.
In their, no. That they feel a change in their well-being as a result of these exports and import numbers improving. It will always be redundant and in books. You understand? Because these on paper they look impressive, but show us the exact exports that coffee improved the lives of these people X, Y, and Z, and this was the government input.
That's Hon Ssemujju
in the coffee improvement.
Coffee has improved the lives of many people.
Better.
No, I'm not going to be the one to tell her.
That's obvious. I mean, you remember the memes of coffee farmers buying choppers and packing them in front of their massacre houses. But
the truth is, coffee has improved the lives of many Ugandans over the last 2 years.
Yes.
No.
And I don't know why Ssemujju...
I think these numbers are due to coffee and gold. Coffee and gold have performed well this year. And
but gold, only you Namfuka has access to gold. I don't know if anyone else has.
No, my dear, many people have access to gold, not just me. Okay, me, I don't even have... Oscar, where are you getting from these things that I have access to gold?
Perhaps you look gold.
Anyway, the coffee and gold numbers have, and I think Moses will confirm this, that these numbers have been bumped up by the coffee doing very well this year, and gold, Uganda moving up in gold exports, which is a good thing on paper, but further down that road, we would like to see government doing better by these sectors and ensuring that Ugandans, Omutu Wansi especially, is benefiting from this performance. With coffee, of course, we can see tangible results on the ground. We've seen families and people who have benefited from the coffee drive. However, the unfortunate thing this year for me to see was the bickering in Parliament over the coffee bill. and the attempts by government to tinker with a sector that is doing well. They left all the sectors that they could improve, that they have ruined, that they should work on, and started doing coffee bills and trying to join the party, the coffee party, which they claim to have had a lot to do with. But in my estimation, the people on the ground, the coffee farmers themselves, the coffee organizations, and certain drivers like the Katikiro and his driver Mwanyi Terimba have done more, in my estimation, on that front than the government. Government can do more. As a state machinery, there is a lot that they can do to improve this. And if they for even one moment shut down their grid and looked at how to use this as an opportunity to develop the country, coffee alone, Oscar, is enough to get Uganda into middle income. It is enough. All we need to do, and I'm simplifying this, grossly simplifying this, but if we even harnessed markets of, say, India and China, and then amplified our coffee drives instead of this whole nonsense of Pineti and what is that Africa thing in Tungamo, which they are trying to do, Oscar, we would be more, we would get more from our coffee advantage than we are even doing now. Look how far we've come without government putting these laws in place, and yet they come in and the very coffee farmers that they seek to help are protesting what they are trying to do. The stakeholders are protesting, but people who have never even grown one coffee plant are thinking that they are more well versed with the situation to make decisions regarding a sector that is doing well without any input from them. So for me, I found that absurd on the one hand. So when Moses quotes the figures, he needs to tell us where they are coming from and the government input and how government can do better instead of sabotaging the
Germany doesn't grow coffee. But Germany doesn't grow coffee, but
they grow it. They grow it in different African countries, and they earn
coffee.
They are the biggest earners because of the way they've strategized. I don't know whether it's legal to mention some of their companies here that grow coffee in the name of Uganda and then export it as German coffee. But I don't think
maybe you shouldn't. Yes, I mean it's still.
They don't have even to export it as, because you see, until that case in Khartoum, we were exporting the biggest percentage of our coffee to Khartoum.
Yeah.
Khartoum re-exporting to Egypt, and Egypt that had access to European market, processing and selling. See, the international trade has its own limitations. I told you here, Oscar, I was in Turkey, I visited the Ugandan embassy. My complaint was that I was feeding on banana and mangoes from Colombia and those other countries.
At the Ugandan embassy?
Everywhere. So I said, but our things are better. So they told me that market in Turkey is dominated by Colombia and others, because in exchange they also buy this from Turkey. So you who is not buying stuff from Turkey, they're not going to open their market for you to begin bringing your oranges and mango. So the international trade has its own limitation. I told you the story of Magufuli. He becomes a leader in Tanzania, and he says he wants the country to be importing sugar from Brazil directly, not through a third party. He didn't know that the third party, who is a Mswahili in Zanzibar, was actually participating in growing canes in Brazil. So he goes to Brazil and they refer him back to a person he left home, that guy is responsible for that market of the following countries. So I don't think you'll easily break into the international market, even by production, even by improving harvesting and so on and so forth. But Oscar, for me, the point Biarahanga makes, and he likes playing with the statistics. Abdul Katun bought me a book, lying with the statistics. And I want to repeat something I've said about coffee many times here. When Uganda was about 5 million people, Uganda was exporting 3.2 million bags. We are now 45 million people celebrating because we are exporting 7. So you cannot tell me, so we are only recovering in terms of coffee per capita. Even the gold that you are talking about, Oscar, and that's why later, if you allow me, gold here that we are selling is not gold from Uganda.
No, it's not.
It is gold stolen from Congo. Because many of the companies in the Eastern DRC, there is a ban. So they're exporting their gold through Uganda, through Tanzania, and through Rwanda. What happens is that these guys who bring here gold, they actually load it at the old airport with Museveni's relatives, go to Dubai, go to China, and sell, and then bring dollars in airplanes. And then the Congolese come here and buy cement and buy stuff and then go to Eastern DRC. This is the story of gold in Uganda. It's not that every gold we sell, the money will end up here. But that gold is what is helping to stabilize the Ugandan shilling. And that's why when they had a meeting, because the Auditor General had authored a report complaining that they are not paying taxes. When they met Museveni, he said, you first wait with your taxes, because he understood that by these smugglers exporting gold through Uganda and bringing dollars, and the dollars remain here, then your shilling will be stable. But most important for you, Oscar, to note, if Biorang wants us to discuss the economy, we passed the budget this year in May, 72 trillion. Half of that budget, 74 trillion, is going to be paying loans. 14 trillion shilling of the money we have borrowed and approved remain unutilized, because you have a government that is sleeping, that is blaming itself. That the reason money is approved, we borrow money and approve, and every year we are paying 440 billion in commitment fees, because the moment you borrow and you don't utilize the money, the lenders will begin charging. So we have over 14 trillion money borrowed for roads, money borrowed for schools, health, that remain unutilized. And then you are paying half the budget is to service the loans that you are not utilizing. The reason you have potholes all over the place, sometimes even the money, the classic case, Oscar, we have Yowa Road in Nigeria. That road we have borrowed money from World Bank. But the borrowing happened and the money actually came. It is in the Ministry of KCCA. But we are not ready to start because the negotiation of overrun hadn't been completed. That was meant to be a project of 18 months. It is now behind the schedule. Why? The government didn't do its part. And many projects in Uganda are affected the same way. So if you had a government that was even performing at 50%, we would be discussing the economy in a broader sense, not in export. Now it has grown where? So you steal gold from Congo and then the international figures are showing, and then you celebrate that.
That's why Oscar, I insist that government should show us the people benefiting from this, because soon enough they will show us the Congolese.
Louis, the figures today, I should have congratulated Ssemujju here for the first time. You know, I worry that he has put Museveni in a diatribe. We'll have Museveni, but for once there was a positive. So for once there was a positive in his remarks that Museveni saw the need for dollars and is keeping the dollars here. But well, you don't have to respond to that.
No, I am not responding.
Of course, one, I will question those figures, because this is not a regime whose figures you can trust. You remember the other day when General Museveni came out and said Uganda is now a middle-income country, until the World Bank came up and said, no, wait a little bit. And then they said, no, it's now lower middle income. They've been changing that all the time. Earlier on, we were talking about UBOS and its fake figures. And when I read what they were writing about the Obote regime, they are choosing it of the same things. If you read Mission to Freedom, they were talking about the fact that they were always cooked figures, trying to project a good economic outlook for the country under those regimes, which they said was not true. So I wouldn't trust those figures, first of all. For me, I think the people who are listening in to us, what they want to see is money in their pockets. How are they faring? You know, I saw news stories talking about how people are struggling
PDM
to celebrate Christmas. Of course, you know, PDM and its challenges. Everybody predicted what was going to happen to PDM. You know, like any other, they started with Youth Livelihood Project and all these other projects in Tandikwa and all that, and same things, corruption, it ends up really being handouts to, we had our own people who went to access these funds and they were blocked because they were not supporting the NRM and that kind of thing. So PDM is just like all these other projects that have been there before. But the point I'm making is that you cannot talk about a growing economy and throw around these figures when we still have all these thousands of young people leaving the country to go and work in, in the Middle East. When you have people unable to afford living, you just go to regions like Busoga, you go to Lango, I mean, almost everywhere in northern Uganda, and seeing the sickening levels of poverty there. Poor service delivery. People have been shining a spot now on hospitals in western Uganda, beginning with Mbarara Referral Hospital, which, some people think these people are in the thing. But when you go there and see the state in which the hospital is, so you cannot just throw around figures that are not backed by improved livelihoods for the people of Uganda. And so you have problems with infrastructure, like we talked about, the disparities between the rich and poor growing every other day. So how do you throw around these figures when they do not speak to the common person in Uganda? And of course, the regime continues to tax people very highly, and of course there is no correlation between the taxes they pay and the services they receive. So as long as all these problems continue to happen, you cannot talk about a boost in the economy, in my view, or from where we stand.
Lydia? You hear contradictions. Moses supplies the figure, says Uganda is doing well, imports are going down, exports are going up, but across the table people are contesting that they do not feel that money in their pockets. Ssemujju even contests that coffee money is not felt in the pocket.
No, the macro is there. The figures show that Uganda is doing well. And when Moses was talking, I said, let's flash the figures, because they're able to tell you how the economy is moving. What needs to be done now is a trickle-down effect. And that's why you're hearing about the socio-economic transformation campaign about household incomes. When talking about a household, that's where the actual trickle-down is. A kilogram of coffee recently was about 10,000, depending on the brand. Where I come from in Bugisu, our coffee went up almost to 12,000 shillings a kilo. And if you're a serious person with your coffee, you know what that means. I mean, you have 100 kilograms, you have some smile walking to the bank or going home with coffee. So it's also about hard work. If you're going to sit back in your house, then the opportunities will walk past you. So we should not talk about poverty without translating it to the obligations of the people. And I wanted to inform my brother Luis here that it is not true that it is government policy that the partial development model only goes to those who support the NRM government. And if you have any case, listen. If you have any, before we leave this show, I want you to give me the person who reported, because it's a no person, their name and their parish. In the next show, I'll bring evidence from that parish committee that's not the policy of government, and that person who has registered will be entitled.
Do you want them to come and camp here? Because there are several.
No.
And I'll tell you why.
Give us the records.
I'll tell you why. You know, they put the person on that committee. And I have told you. We contested that because if it is a government program,
why
government of Uganda program.
No, let me explain. You have talked and I've listened. One of the work methods of the talk show here is that you have a pen and piece of paper, you take notes. But now why are you why are you not giving
lies, no?
But why don't you listen? You will be given time to untell the lies. But let me tell my lies if you want. You have to listen to me. I have no choice.
I'm listening to you.
Yeah, then listen and keep quiet so that I can speak. Don't interrupt me.
But you were interrupting me.
I didn't interrupt you.
You did actually.
No, I didn't. I did not.
Between Lydia and Louis.
So I'm trying to say, to tell Louis, if he wants to hear, that it is not government policy. For your information, I come from an opposition community. I come from Mumbali. Those are not simple people. They know their rights, they argue, they oppose. But you cannot go to a parish in Mbali and they ask about your color. The majority are even actual opposition, but NRMs are not complaining. So it's colorless, let me tell you. But you can choose to give it a color if you want. But if you are in a community and you have all the requirements for the parish development model, as day follows the night, you are entitled and you will get. I can actually go with you to your NUP offices after this show, and you give me that list and take it to the parish, so that we resolve this matter, because the structures of government are there, the offices are there, and want to deliver to all Ugandans, irrespective of your political affiliation, because this is your right. It's your right to associate. This is a government program. It's for everybody. And it's in the interest of the NRM to see opposition people benefiting from this. Then we'll be accountable. What is 1 million to deny a person who belongs to another political party? That's not even how we think. If you want to know that there is actually more interest of the NRM, to reach out. This government money, taxpayers' money, taxes are blind. They have no color. Everybody pays for these taxes. So for me, I don't like this business of coming. You have one line. We are talking about a mass line for the community. And for sure, if it's about denying your people, just give me the list. I can give you my number. I can go with you.
I'll give you the list.
And I will go to that parish and I'll go with the media so to resolve this problem.
Let her finish first.
So for me, I
after the break, I'll give you.
For me, you've made your case. I have responded to you. So we will come back here even next Saturday, and we give the evidence.
Okay.
This is a straightforward activity. Fortunately for me, I come from Mbale City, where we are, even from our own families, we have many colors. I come from a family where we come from different political parties, and so it's okay. But you cannot say that because of this color, you're not getting from this color. Otherwise, NRMs would be here crying, because in Mbale, most of them are not even NRM. Okay. But they are happy they're receiving the development model.
Stop for a break. Hassan Squib Wanyonyi tells you at Ssemujju, the player Lydia is talking about is called Mary Noba. And the new netball Uganda president is Ms. Ochanda. We'll come back from the break. This is the Capital Gang. Moses is still sending information to Ssemujju. Says Ibra, on every kilo of gold exported, URA charges $200. And the gold exports are $2 billion US, out of 8 billion. I haven't understood that one. And the coffee exports are 1.4 billion. Then he goes on to say that gold is not stolen from DRC. It's sold through Uganda and the Congolese when they get dollars, but we have cement and other items that go to Congo. And he says the gold, however, comes from Ghana, Burkina Faso. For refining in Uganda, it's mainly exported out of Uganda to mainly Dubai. That's a response to you by Moses.
Yeah, what has he said?
That we are richer. Yes.
You see what he said.
Have you followed PDM in Chile?
I have. And my complaint, as I presented them to Parliament, the beginning was very difficult. First of all, they raised enthusiasm. The population thought that money is coming. Make circles, do this and that. Eventually, when the money came, they had grouped them into like 10 circles. And then only one circle will get. Because you see, there are structural problems with the PDM, which we've been debating in Parliament. A parish in my constituency is the size of a district in another area. Chireka is a parish. Chireka has a population of about 100,000, just Chireka. In fact, almost every village in my area is bigger than a parish. If you go to Kasokoso and Chiganda, more than 40,000 people there. A village, a parish in the area where I was born in Chazanga, maybe 100 million shilling will make sense, maybe. But if you bring 100 million shilling in Chireka and you say you have come to change people's lives, you will be a joker. But that is the structure that the government chose. But also, even when they were making, for example, Eastern Uganda has a smaller population compared to the center, Buganda. But they had more parishes than what is in Buganda. But even the structuring of the money, so those are the figures they based on to give the money. But the administration also had become problematic when you saw the president in Gulu and elsewhere. Because PDM is not meant to be a grant, it's not a donation. You use the money and then monthly, I think now they gave them a holiday of, is it 3 months, 3 days?
Well, let me give you information. For every financial year, there will be 100 million to every parish in Uganda. And it's for every financial year. Now, for that 100 million at a parish, for every 100 million for that parish, 30%, which is 30 million, goes to the women. 30% goes to the youth.
It is finished.
Then 10% goes to the elderly. Then the other balance goes to everybody else, the general, you know. Everybody else left, like men and stuff like that. Now, that money does not go back to the central government. Eventually, they are supposed to have a parish bank. So it's a rotational fund within the parish. And you use it for the 24 months.
Yeah, but
because, let me listen, the enterprises which are selected for those parishes mainly border towards agriculture. So if it's agriculture, then it looks in terms of a season, like in Uganda, mainly areas have 2 seasons in a year. That's why they said after 2 years, 24 months, you'd have been able to harvest, sell your produce, and be able to bring back to the committee at the parish. So that money finally ideally should end up into a parish bank. And you cannot, all of you on a parish, get money in one financial year. You're talking about 100 million. That means only 100 people. And like Ssemujju is saying, some parishes have so many people. So there's a list. So if you've not gotten this financial year, you'll get the next financial year.
Okay.
And then and it's about household. That is the story around
so
the parish.
The point I was making, and
so 24
the
months.
information he has given is very good information.
Yes.
You are in a group. You receive the money for a period, and then you begin repaying.
After 24
you remember
months.
The Honorable Janet Mukwaya. I haven't seen another minister doing the same thing. She was moving around the country over the Youth Livelihood Fund, and they ended up rounding youth and arresting them. So the fear, even those who are receiving it, someone rearing goats, and in 24 months you want me, because sometimes they receive $1 million in a circle, and they want to use you in a year and then return it. So many of the things that are done here are not preceded by studies. Because if you come to Chireka, we don't do agriculture there. Even the small thing that people are doing there, you needed to have studied. So we raised all these issues in Parliament, but I think the program became a political campaign that it must start, whether there are issues or not. These days I hear adverts on some Uganda radio stations or people whose lives have improved within a year since PDM started. I am looking for those in my constituency. I haven't found one. And I collect information through councillors because I am not there to follow.
There are reports in the rural areas, those who started.
But if you listen to other programs,
but
you will
for
hear,
urban centers
for me,
like
when they
Chira,
put PDF, my life changed. Now I am doing this. Now I am doing. So those success stories, I haven't registered them in my constituency. And I will be glad if Lydia can take me to Mbali if they have some.
Well,
the president has gone now to 5 zones, Oscar. He was in Bukedi, Teso, Karamoja,
Lydia,
Sebei, and finally last week in Ibugisu.
To interrupt you, Lydia.
Ssemujju just asked me. I'm answering.
Ariko Daudi says at Ssemujju on the PDM being politicized, I must admit that Rubongoya is wrong. So it is largely opposition, but PDM has been the most fair government program. It is unfortunate some
even me, I come from Bali.
Well, I was there and I visited Bugisu, Sebei, and Teso sub-regions. I met with our people and these known activists. told me that they were turned away. And of course, if you look at the structure, and I think that was the intention of having the NRM chairperson as part of that committee. It's politicized, and even when you see General Museveni has been going around apparently to, assess how it has fared, but you've seen all these things have been turned into political rallies. So if you're going to say you're going to monitor a government program which is not political, why go and make everybody dress up in NRM t-shirts for 2026 and all that, and then you have these endorsements going on, sole candidate and all that? So if you say it's a government program being implemented by the government of Uganda using taxpayers' money, which taxpayers' money is collected from every Ugandan regardless of political party, why do you politicize it to that extent? So to that extent, I can tell you, and I'll give this, I'll give Lydia the figures, because the people are there who were actually turned away for political reasons. And they said, if you were known to be, opposition activists, of course, when she says that she comes from an area that is largely opposition, I think in this country, majority of the people of Uganda actually do not support this regime. So, but I'm talking about known activists.
No, majority do not support.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, they don't.
Even the Jerrycans don't.
But when we've
had elections,
the people I'm talking about are largely the known activists. These youth who are known for wearing their berets, people power paraphernalia and move around. Those I can tell you, and there are many examples who were turned away.
But Oscar, even at the grassroots, I know people who got this money, and most of them say that the criteria was, do you support NRM? Yeah. And most of them actually don't think they're going to return the money. They're like, no, this money was given to us for supporting the NRM and for our campaign efforts during the last election. So the grassroots don't think that there's anything about development for this money, or you're returning it, or it's stuck to anything. It wasn't piloted. It wasn't. This is money just handed out to people who don't even understand what they should be using it for. And as you've seen now, we've created a committee of inquiry into the misuse of the money and people stealing the money, which we predicted here, because of the way they've gone about this.
But you have to say, maybe it's, sometimes you have enthusiastic individuals who will abuse something good. I think you wouldn't generalize, because
but if they've abused NAT, they've abused Operation Wealth Creation, they've abused Bonaba Gagawale, they've abused everything that you've brought. What have you learned from there that prevents abuse of the next project, the next Bonaba Gagawale that you're rolling out? You see, none of this was done because this money was never intended to be developmental or to be given back. No, it's money that was intended for political purposes, to harness more support for NRM at the grassroots, and to reward NRM cadres at that level. So let's not kid ourselves that there is anything more to this money.
Lydia, you close out this.
I wanted to let Luongoya know that I'm a practicing politician. Every time my people hear that I'm going to a place, especially women, they will don in my t-shirts, even if I've not told them, and they will come for the meetings. I defended NUP when they were saying, when they are going for their meetings, they cause crowds, they are having accidents, and I said, no, that's the nature of our people. Even if they were saying they were passing what they call a bigari, they have their language. I said, no. The moment people like somebody, they will come. And for me, I participated for 3 weeks in the by-election where Chagulanyi became the MP. I came to tell the story here. That the supporters of Chagulanyi remained it rained that day on the voting day. Our people are taking off. His supporters remained in the line. So this issue of saying that because Museveni has gone to an area, people are forced. No, it's the way we work in Uganda. That's how people reflect or react to their leaders they like. It is not isolated to the NRM or to an individual. That's the way we are. And fortunately for me, I've been here and I was able to defend these crowds of NUP and how the story of why they got the accident and how they were causing the big. I said, that's the nature of our people, especially these people that have their supporters. They come and showcase. So on the issue of the parish vote model, I want to tell you, people won't tell you maybe what you want to hear. But listen to the rate on the ground. Everybody that is not in the money economy, by the way, there is a definition for who is entitled or who should get parish model. It's the poor. The 38% who have not reached the money economy and would like to have a small startup capital. they will get the 1 million. And they at village parish level, they are known by the community. And they will not get in the first batch of release. It's a continuous process. I also get so many people say, they didn't give me because now for you are saying it's Snoop. I say, I was not given because I'm a supporter of this NRM and also not the other NRM. Those things are there. But when you got the reality down, they will tell you, no, this is the first group. The next group will get the next financial year. The lists are there with the committees at the parish level. At the parish level, I want to insist that this program has no color. It's at the parish level. The people are known. Not everybody will get in the first batch, but if you have not been on the list, our work, we have a structure. We'll make sure that whoever is deserving will be on the structure. And that person is the one who has not yet gotten on the money economy, but has an enterprise. The moment they get that 1 million, they will be able to go and start. And I want to add something to inform Namfi.
As you conclude.
That there has been a training at every parish about selection of enterprises and about how this money should be used and about the fact that you use 24 months and that the money is a rotational fund. The bank will remain at the parish as it grows. The president's visit in the last 5 zones he has been to, he has got feedback that there are some areas, some parishes which have so many people, so they will take a lot of time to be able to be at the same grid with others. Those who are not on the money economy, the poor, the 28%, the 38% that we're talking about of the country. So there's going to be an increment, a review to increase this money. So I really want to let our people know that this is a program of government for everybody. It is in the interest of the NRM to make sure that everybody who is not on the money economy gets it, because that's an accountability for us to remove people from poverty and to draw the campaign on the social transformation for our country.
Thank you.
And be able to have that statistics right. You know, Oscar, today I'm speaking against over 5 people or 2 people, 3-4 people who are against
and for me,
the right trajectory of what government is doing. And in 2024, how far we have come. One of the biggest achievements of the NRM government 2024 is to enforce, be vigilant and deliver the parish development model. And so far, every parish in Uganda has received 300 million shillings because there have been 3 releases for this last 3 years. 100 million per parish in the last 3 years.
Inospa on ex-family says, Ssemujju, a vet graduate in my village got 1 million PDM. He bought a handbag and vaccines or whatever, and the guy is living a fortune. I wanted to move away from this, but Louis wants to make 2 sentences.
Yeah, just I don't want Lydia to really take Ugandans for fools. To say that these people who come out to remove genome, to don yellow T-shirts, and is it the local people who
don't you wear your red berets?
You said I shouldn't interrupt you.
No, but I mean, why? Ugandans are not fools on your side as well.
No, you're saying that somehow these people come out, go and buy new T-shirts and come to receive Genome 70 and put up boards and start making endorsements.
It's voluntary.
It is a clearly orchestrated plan. And my point is that if this is a government project funded by the taxpayers, it should not be politicized. So it is politicized right from the formulation of the committee in terms of who gets to benefit from the project. Even when it is being monitored, it is a real campaign, which is what has been happening in the last election. You saw Genome 7 moving around to launch markets during the campaign period when they were blocking us and every other person from holding rallies because of COVID. And they went around holding these big meetings, claiming to launch government programs when they were actually campaigning. So she shouldn't take Ugandans for fools. Everybody can see these rallies that they are. I mean, when Balaam goes around and is moving on the streets with convoys and whatever, and you say that these are excited people who cannot even afford a meal, that these people all of a sudden can afford new NRM T-shirts.
Don't your supporters come with red berets on the streets? Don't they come?
Okay. So they finally...
and then they are abducted for wearing those red berets.
No, but don't they come? You don't mix things. Don't they come?
No.
Your supporters, I even supported you.
Is that for us, when we go to these
don't
areas...
They come? Do they come or not come?
We do not go to launch government programs.
Because you're not in the government. How do you launch what you don't have?
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Wait, when you're in government,
PDM
you're not.
Has been turned into a political tool. Actually, it was, like Nancy says, I think...
was a political tool.
We are delivering a manifesto for transforming Ugandans.
Terms. But finally, on this point, I think we need to reach a point and move on from handouts. We've been saying that Ugandans need a hand up, not handouts. Handouts have not worked, and we need to change the formula.
As for the mandate.
That's what NUP will come to do. Yeah.
So, Honorable Ssemujju, it was family turning into a Lydia Lewis show, both L's. As we conclude the final gang, which of the exhibitions caught your eye? Because we had, is it Porthole exhibition? Then we had Parliament.
For obvious reason, the one of Parliament generated a lot of heat.
Why do you say obvious?
Yeah, because Parliament creates news. Parliament is in the news, even when you think there is no news in Parliament. But the most significant thing is that you are responsible for oversight, but also for holding others to account. When you are found guilty, then you are bound to be treated, you are bound to generate more headlines than any other person, because your job in the first instance is to make sure that public resources are properly utilized. But you have been found wanting. You are also taking part in sharing those public resources. That's why the one of Parliament, and then Parliament and politics. So the corruption will be there, but also people are seeking to use it for political reasons are also going to be there. So the story will stay in, being supported by different interests. Those genuinely who are fighting corruption, but those who also want to take advantage of the reported corruption to deal with their own internal problems. So that's why Parliament was in the media for a very long time. And I hope, Oscar, as I said at the beginning of the show, that I hope as an institution, Parliament will learn from this, and many of these things are not going to be repeated. Unfortunately, once corruption is official, it's very difficult to stop. I remember when I was presenting a response to the budget, I did list people who were given money formally in the budget, money for donation, which was coming to about 168 billion. From the president to vice president, the prime minister, the speaker of parliament, the deputy, the chief justice. So they have money for donation in the budget. And I said during the budget process that why don't we remove this money? People were just laughing at me. So the corruption that is not official, that can be fought. But the one that is official, you can report about it 100 times, but it will not stop. Because money is put in the budget for people to go and use it the way they like. So until that has been dealt with, then the unofficial, because you see, even in the military, when you are the ghost soldiers, if you are authorized to steal, you are not going to be punished. But if you are not authorized, they will come running after you because you are stealing. What Kazin called official sharing. He said the money we are sharing at the end of the financial year, but everybody was participating. You know, Kazin was Kazin. And then the money that individual soldiers were stealing. So for what they were not authorized, they were being punished. But what was officially known, no punishment.
Okay. Namfi, which exhibition caught you the most?
It's even sad that we have these exhibitions, Oscar. I'm just hoping that next year we have exhibitions for things that are going right in the country. For once, we have a positive year, but seeing that it's an election year, I don't think that is going to be the case. But I think for me, the one outstanding must be the one about Parliament. I like the Porthole one as well, and the health sector.
So you liked them all? That was all. So you liked them all?
I like them all. You see, Oscar, I give credit to Spire for coming out and courageously exhibiting, because I mean his life has been threatened, and as an activist he's done a great job bringing out this, and I want us going forward to use more social media. even Agatha Atayre have been very, very excellent this year. For me, they are some of my top persons of the year, Jimmy Spire, Sentongo, and Agatha, for highlighting these areas and trying to bring them to the fore, because when nobody mentions these things, we all go through these portals. I don't know whether Lydia here and Moses and Ofono Pondo don't drive through the same Kampala that we all drive through. And if they drive through these potholes, I don't know where they okay with it. And I Betty Kamya told us that their big cars don't fill these potholes. But Oscar, you have these big cars. Tell us, do you fill these potholes or you don't? Because for me, for the very people propagating this misrule to be moving in the same country, because I can understand Bia in Cameroon. I mean, he lives at the is this a Swiss Continental in Switzerland? So he's not affected by what happens on the ground in Cameroon. So he can run the country to the ground, and I will excuse his stupidity. But for our Ugandan leaders who run the country to the ground, and they're using the very same roads, they're using the very same facilities that they've run to the ground, what is wrong with these people?
Okay.
So
Louis Luongo, yeah? You know, we are out of town, Nafi. What exhibition caught you the most?
So the one of Parliament. I want to first of all appreciate the exhibitors and of course Jimmy and the Agora team for a great work done. They did well to really start these exhibitions, and I want to appreciate all the young people who participated in the March to Parliament. I think that was one of the highlights of the year. People who were not previously involved in politics, you saw them come out to the streets to, protest against corruption. As always, General Museveni, who always loves to talk about corruption, came out, fire blazing and said they were playing with fire. Many were arrested and all these things happened to them. But I think the exhibition on Parliament was very, very important for the people to see really what is going on. For us as NUP, of course, it came with its own issues. The 500 million, it was 1.7 billion handout given to the parliamentary commissioners and all that. But it was a revelation of corruption in the high places. The fact that Parliament itself is a bastion for corruption, which is very unfortunate.
Lydia, many junior Jimmy says, at Ssemujju, I want to challenge Lydia that in my constituency in Oyam South, they are so selective that the son to the LC1 was the first to get. So, but as I told Namfi, these are just individuals perhaps. You have to look at the entire program. But
no, the challenges of the Oscar, the challenges of the partial model exist and they are there, but I want to request the leadership, because of the structure there's a leader at the parish level, to be vigilant and be able to address. That's why I've asked Louis to give me the list, because I've gone and track the parish already in the system and we clear that. The challenges are there.
Then finally for you, Lydia,
so I've already explained who is entitled.
Finally for you, what exhibition caught you the most?
I think that we still have a very big challenge in terms of leadership of our country and accountability. The names keep changing. When it's Bank of Uganda, it's called the Haste. When it is the Parliament, it is called the Nawad. When it is, I don't know, the bank, it is fake money for Post Bank. But all this is about the community and accountability and abuse of office, but also maybe fraud. So the English words keep changing, but that shows that along the way, there is abuse of office and money, and then the people don't get the service. Yeah. Because when money disappears, then the roads will not be fixed. But Oscar, did you hear that the cabinet has approved that we are going to have cable cars in the city?
It's a story from 2014.
So I was like, if we can't fix the potholes in the city, now how are the cable cars going to move and be manned? Anyway, that's another thing.
Thank you. Yes.
But
thank you,
so
listeners of the Capital Gang. Thank you, the regular gangsters that we've had. Star Cafe, thank you so much for powering the gang. I'd like to wish a happy new year to everyone. Honorable Ssemujju, your friend Lieutenant Kano Chove, did you know that he was promoted to Kano Chove? So
my neighbor is Micho.
Yes, that's why I'm giving you that information.
So I want to congratulate him.
Yes, so he's also been my good of the year. Sorry, I bless you.
From
bless you.
COVID to Mpox, I didn't know.
A well-deserved promotion for Dr. Chobe.
Indeed.
To be in this operation.
So thank you so much. I'd like to wish you a happy new year, a prosperous one, and I shall see you next year.